Hi.
Hi, Seth. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. I have not to be like embarrassingly uh gushy. You are like very much a part of me and my husband's like watching routine.
Oh, that's
Like
very good to hear.
anytime that we'll have dinner after he comes home from work and we'll sit down at the TV to watch something because I have like total control over the television. I tell him what to watch. But before we start watching anything, he's like, wait, is there another closer look? We have to watch a closer look before we watch something else.
Love it. That's
So
that's the trade-off. One
yeah,
for one closer look, and then you get the keys the rest of the night.
yes. So thank you for taking the time to talk to me.
Oh, thank you.
I do actually want to know, are you guys still looking for financial backing for Cicada Cicada? Because
There's a hope that if everything falls apart with this Twitter deal, that Mr. Musk will have the extra cash lying around. We would prefer to have one financial backer.
a singular, just
Yeah, a little bit more hands off because we
of course.
obviously have a lot of creative ideas and we wouldn't want anybody to junk that up.
Yeah. Um, I will admit that I've only been to like one big press day, and it was in the last like 6 months. I was in New York for something for the Gilded Age, and I got to interview a lot of the cast like in person. It was really sort of intimidating. And Christine Baranski was one of the last people to walk up to me. And in my head, I was like, don't bring up Cicada Cicada, don't bring up Cicada Cicada. And I almost did.
I would have been very curious to hear what her reaction to it would have been. I'm lucky enough to know her little outside show business,
Yeah.
and she's so lovely. But every time I bring it up to her, I feel like it's more politeness, perhaps, than comprehension.
She's very serene. I was really surprised by like how relaxed and serene she is because she's like fucking Christine Baranski.
There's
So
like a liquid charisma to Christine Baranski.
yeah, just tried to grab a little bit before she walked away. Um, Something about uh, one of the reasons I think that we love watching you all week. I mean, especially for me, I can't speak for my husband, but there is something very comforting in how you deliver a lot of the reprehensible bullshit that is happening. And I feel like on a certain length, like watching shows like Your Show or like Full Frontal with Samantha Bee, like that's the only way that I sort of want to watch the news now, just because it gives me something to, I guess, kind of not rock back and forth and cry to all the time. Did you ever sort of expect that like something like A Closer Look was going to be like as informative as it is, and so much of like a I can't think of the right word, like a something that people can hold on to as
Yeah, I
something
think
necessary. I can't talk.
I will just say that I think we started with information as our main goal. Obviously, delivered with jokes, and then when we found back that we ended up living through this era that none of us could have predicted, was that it was really cathartic to do, and what we hear is it's cathartic to watch, and we are not out there trying to change anyone's minds as much as we're trying to tell people that if your mind has processed this information and come to the same conclusion as ours, maybe that's a way it won't feel like you're fully insane. Sal Gentile, the head writer of A Closer Look, said that he kind of feels like it's written and performed for the by and for the formerly sane, and I think that's a pretty good way to package it.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff like I don't want to really tune into what like Ted Cruz is doing, but like I was just watching it last night and showing his like the entrance that he had at wherever he was. Like I'm glad I know what it looks like, but I don't want to spend too much time there. So
Yeah, I mean, even the process of working on A Closer Look is a good way for me to. I can both work on it and get my news from it at the same time, and I find a far more peaceful way of going about it than spending an evening watching cable news.
yeah, anytime that my husband is very tuned into like the January 6th hearings. So anytime that he's downstairs watching it and I'm doing work, if I come downstairs or walk by the television, I'm like, just give me the highlights later. I can't do it. I can't do it like he does. He's braver than I am.
Yeah, that's the way I feel about Sal.
Yeah.
Sal is to me what your husband is to you. Where I remember walking in the other night, and I was at my in-laws, and they were watching the January 6th hearing, and I kind of watched for a few minutes, and I'm like, you know what, Sal's gonna have a bounce on this come Monday, and by Monday night, I'll feel very informed.
Good. I feel very informed watching a closer look. So I guess
that's kind of the goal. I mean,
yeah.
we've always said it's a good companion piece for the real news.
Yeah, it's something like there are a lot of people that say like, can you believe this happened, but they only see like the headlines. I feel like I'm farther much more informed than they are. So yeah,
we try to take you a couple paragraphs into the story.
Okay. We clicked on the article. That's great.
Yeah.
I mean, even something that I appreciate about a closer look is I even went back to like the day after the January 6th, after that actually happened, and it was a very sobering, very direct thing that I appreciated from you. And something else that I want to just say that I don't want to say enjoy, but something that I appreciate and respect is there's always something where you come back and say like, this is what happened, this is what they're trying to do, and this is why we can't like sort of forget about that. And I don't think I know of another sort of late night program that does do that. So I personally appreciate that, so thank you.
It really is a credit to the way that Sal, and he's really a name you. There's a reason I keep bringing him up, because he is the life closer look. But he has this wonderful way of writing where he does set up a thesis statement at the top of each closer look, and then he lays out a very strong argument, and then he also reaches a conclusion. And we started doing this show. I don't think anybody would have said in 2014, oh, there's a huge appetite for long form political pieces. That's what people want to watch on YouTube. And I think one of the reasons that it has been this successful part of our show is it doesn't just feel like a long string of 12 minutes of jokes. It does have these there's architecture to it that Sal works really hard on. And the architecture is strong enough that then we can like just throw terrible impressions and tangential bits and silliness on top of it. And it always holds the sort of integrity of a closer look holds. And that is just I can't say enough about all the hard work he does at the first level of making sure like, oh yeah, you guys can throw in as many dumb bits as you want on top of this. Like the point's going to come across.
Okay. Can I ask you about an impression?
Yeah, please.
I want to know, number one, how you don't laugh and how you sort of continue through a Tucker Carlson impression, just because it is sort of like listening to him talk is sort of like when you're trying to get on the subway or a metro and your jacket gets caught, but you're not inside, and it just goes and you're sort of just flapping along with it.
Yeah.
That's how I feel like when he talks. And I think the way that you hone in on that is actually is really funny. And I was curious, what is like the key to sort of that impression?
Well, I feel like if Tucker Carlson can get through one of his monologues without laughing, that I could do is try to match him. There's a real, you don't have to watch him much to realize he has that, rhetorical tick of asking a lot of questions and never sort of answering them. Yeah. And so writing in that style and performing in that style is pretty delightful. And the hardest part really is there's just no room to take a breath. There's a lot of, and I should note, it's shocking when one of these things, when you find out something like that, like we have, I think we have the same face when we are shocked by something. Like our confused face is very similar. So sometimes with the impression, you just win on bone structure, sadly.
I'm gonna find a side by side now. As soon as I hang up, I'm gonna find shocked faces. Okay. I want to talk about corrections, just because. Again, I don't know of another show that is doing something like that. And I do learn a lot of stuff from that. Like I didn't realize that Chuck Lorre was the writer of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, it's great.
Like what kind of world are we living in? There's something about it, like even tapping into strengthening journalistic integrity, I feel like, is in there, like with that constantly under attack in the last like 6 years. I guess what is sort of like the key to that, and how do you want to sort of convey like a different kind of performance style with it? I think it's really funny.
Yeah, I mean, it's always sort of changing. I mean, it started as a lark based on the fact that, we made this mistake about the plural of Legos, which is incorrect. It's Lego, or Lego blocks or Lego bricks. But the fun was realizing that in this world we live in, where you have immediate feedback from the internet,
Right.
it's almost harder to make a correction than it is just to ignore the complaint in the first place. But the journey was so fun, and especially when you shared, because I think we've all been in that situation where you try to fix something and make it worse. And
Yeah.
the play acting frustration of that. And now
I'm sorry. I decided to just do a little disappearing act in the middle of that. Sorry.
We've created a community full of people who are sort of crowdsourcing this really fun bit of the show for me, both to write and to do. And it's nice knowing that every week I'll do it and their feedback will be the fuel that builds the next correction. So it's sort of a perpetual motion machine. But also, like you said, I do, find out facts about things that are, trivial, but more fun to know than not.
The McRib is not seasonal. That is very...
Yeah, see, there you go. Defenestration. I did not know that defenestration was throwing somebody out a window. Very helpful. I've used it at least 8 times this time.
Good, great, wonderful. I guess, is everyone talking to you about Wally? I have to...
Card guy Wally?
What's that?
The cue card guy Wally.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, well, first of all, I need to congratulate you on the nominations, because when I found out that this is your first variety talk series nominations, I was sort of flabbergasted and aghast. And I want to say, like, you might as well soak this up while you can, because Wally's going to take your job.
Yeah. That's the future. I will say one of the really nice things about this moment, because we were so genuinely happy to get that nomination. A sort of extra bonus was how many people didn't know it had never happened, because you realize that when you walk around with this, tiny Charlie Brown storm cloud over your head because you don't get nominated, it's very helpful to know that nobody else can see that storm cloud, and it's best to just move ahead like nothing has happened. But Wally, again, much like corrections, Wally's presence on the show was a thing that grew out of the pandemic and grew out of these 10 months where we were doing the show in the studio with no audience. And Wally was already a huge presence on the show and a huge presence in my entire television career. He's held up 95% of the words I've said on TV. Met him at SNL in 2001. And so I knew how charismatic and fun Wally was.
Yeah.
I don't think I knew how beloved he would become with the audience, and literally every time it cuts to him they lose their minds. And but that makes me so happy, because one of the things we did and it was almost on purpose in the early years of the show, we didn't really build in recurring through lines, recurring characters, and it's so funny that it happened naturally. And obviously we're as happy about it as it strikes me the audience is.
I think there's something, as his presence on camera grows, I don't know, I think there's something even kind of lovely that you can kind of tell that there is such a respectful relationship between the two of you, because you as a host obviously depends on someone holding up the cue card. So
I wish we could catch on camera a thing that happens at least once a week, it strikes me, which is when the guest on the show that night realizes that the Wally holding the cue cards is the same Wally that held their cue cards when they hosted SNL.
Wow.
Because Wally is, a security blanket for me, but there is no time that Wally is a bigger security blanket for someone than the first time they host SNL. Because Wally is just finger on the card, and he moves in your eye line if you lose him. And so, he's just this talisman for people. And so, like, Daniel Kaluuya on last week, and we're doing the promo, and all of a sudden you just watch as he's like And it's really great because Wally is he's the perfect person for the role he plays, not just at this show, but on SNL as well.
Yeah. Okay. I guess one last question before I let you go. I mean, I know this season I was reading an article about, welcoming back audiences.
Yeah.
Stepping out of the shitstorm as much as we possibly can. And I was curious, coming back and everything going back to normal, I guess from your time in the attic, with the sea captain, is there something from that sort of experience that you wanted to hold on to as, stuff started trickling back into place?
It was more of an idea that we wanted to hold on to, which was do the show, especially the early days of the pandemic, where I was doing the show into an iPad and realized a lot of people, that's how they watch the show, right? They're alone on an iPad. I'm alone doing it on an iPad. And so I felt incredibly close to the at-home audience. And it's weird because that's always a, exponentially larger group of people than the people in the studio with you every night. But it's hard as a performer not to focus on the people in the studio. And so that was the part that we held on to, which was remembering, the people at home, they're the ones who are with us every night. And we, by all means, want to do a great show for the people in the studio. But, we should be focusing all our efforts to build equity with the, loyal viewers at home. And sometimes that's a thing as silly as, hey, they like Wally, let's keep showing them Wally. Like, let's do a joke on Monday that we call back on Thursday. And that's, in the same way that people watch episodic television, I think they appreciate when you know and that they're paying attention.